The day the skies turned to iron was the day humanity forgot how to dream. It began with a pulse across the heavens, a soundless wave that cracked satellites and blinded observatories. When the clouds parted, we saw them, ships the size of continents, black against the sun. The Orion Dominion had come, not as invaders, but as owners reclaiming property. They didn't ask for surrender. They simply took it. In the first week, every defense network fell. Nuclear silos went dark. Air fleets vanished in blue light. Cities were stripped to skeletons of glass. Humanity, for all its history of war, found itself facing an enemy beyond reason or mercy. The Orions were tall and angular, their skin a shifting silver that rippled like mercury, their eyes burning with ultraviolet flame. They spoke through machines that translated their will into perfect, emotionless tone. To them, humans were the dust-born, intelligent vermin who had forgotten their place. When the burning stopped, the silence began. The Dominion enslaved entire populations using neural collars, sleek bands fused into flesh, broadcasting obedience directly into the mind. Factories rose on the bones of cities, powered by human labor and alien precision. The air hummed with control signals, and the night sky glowed with Orion patrols. Freedom became a word whispered only in dreams, but not everyone dreamed quietly. Beneath the ruins of fallen nations, a handful of survivors began to move. Engineers, soldiers, hackers, anyone who remembered what resistance felt like. They called themselves the Iron Sky, and their purpose was simple: survive long enough to strike back. Among them was Captain Rhea Sloan, once a United Earth Navy pilot, now a ghost of war. She had watched her fleet burn above New Delhi. She had buried her squad beneath the rubble. Yet something in her refused to die. She followed fragments of encrypted messages across dead frequencies, signals hidden in static, repeating the same 3 words: humanity is awake. The search led her across wastelands and irradiated forests until she reached the old Alpine tunnels, miles of stone that had once protected data centers beneath Geneva. There, in the heart of darkness, she found the Iron Sky. It wasn't an army, just a network of defiance, men and women who refused to accept extinction. They built weapons from scrap, patched drones with alien metal, and turned silence into strategy. Rhea stood before them, her uniform reduced to a tattered flag, and made a vow. They took our world. They took our sky, but they will never take who we are. That night, under the dim glow of dying generators, the Iron Sky rose from the ashes of defeat. Somewhere above, the Orion ships drifted like cold gods, certain their conquest was complete. They couldn't hear the heartbeat pulsing beneath the earth, the rhythm of a species that refused to bow. Rhea looked to the stars she once patrolled, her jaw set against despair. "You wanted slaves," she whispered into the static. "Instead, you forged soldiers. The Orion Dominion didn't know it yet. But humanity was coming back, slow, furious, and unbreakable. And when the time came, the chains of Orion would shatter. The Iron Sky lived like ghosts, buried under mountains, hidden from the Dominion's scanning arrays. Their days were measured not in hours, but in the rhythm of the machines they repaired. Each hum of a generator, each flicker of a monitor, was a heartbeat of the resistance. The tunnels beneath Geneva had become their world, a labyrinth of steel bones and human will. Captain Rhea Sloan had become the pulse that held them together. Her voice was calm when others trembled, sharp when fear threatened to spread. She had fought enough wars to know that courage was not the absence of fear. It was movement despite it. Dr. Aaron Vale worked beside her, his face half-shadowed by the glow of alien circuitry. Once he had been one of the Dominion's coerced engineers, forced to design the very neural collars that enslaved his species. Now he tore them apart, searching for weaknesses in their frequency code. His hands trembled whenever he handled the alien metal, but Rhea never spoke of it. She understood guilt. It was the price of survival. Every few weeks, a new face joined them. Escaped slaves, defectors, scavengers carrying stolen chips or schematics. Each arrival brought fragments of information, and from those fragments, Rhea began to piece together a horrifying truth. The Orions were building something enormous in orbit, a planetary relay designed to synchronize every collar on Earth, one pulse, and the Dominion could wipe free thought from humanity forever. Rhea stared at the holographic projection, a glowing ring surrounding the planet, fed by energy towers rising from Earth's surface. It was elegant, monstrous, and almost complete. "If that goes active," she said quietly, "there will be no resistance left to lead." Aaron nodded, his voice breaking. "It's a cage built from light. Once it ignites, we'll serve them even in our dreams." For days, the Iron Sky debated. Their numbers were small, their weapons primitive. The Orions had fleets that could erase continents. But Rhea refused to surrender to reason. Humanity had always done the impossible. Sailed oceans, crossed voids, defied gods. Why should this be different? They began to prepare. Engineers stripped alien drones and grafted their drives onto old shuttle hulls. Mechanics turned mining lasers into weapons. In the command bay, Rhea recorded a message to transmit across the broken networks. A call to every hidden pocket of humanity still alive. "They call us the Dustborn, but dust can choke. Dust can rise in storms. We are that storm." Her words spread like wildfire. Across shattered continents, humans began to stir. Collared workers sabotaged their overseers. Farmers in the ruins of Asia buried weapons beneath their fields. Even the children learned to whisper the words of defiance in their sleep. Hope, once a forbidden emotion, returned to the human heart. It was not gentle. It burned like dry oxygen, bright and consuming. One night, Rhea climbed a ventilation shaft to the surface. The world above was cold and broken, littered with the carcasses of machines. The sky was no longer blue, but tinted silver by the Dominion's orbiting constructs. Yet for the first time, she didn't see prison. She saw targets. The wind carried ash and the faint scent of ozone. She whispered to the horizon, "We're coming for our sky." Behind her, the Iron Sky base roared to life. Engines hummed, reactors flared, and humanity's spark caught fire. Beneath mountains and ruins, in silence and shadow, the rebellion had begun to move, and far above, unseen by human eyes, an Orion warship paused mid-course, detecting a faint signal buried in static, a signal written in human code. Humanity was awake. At dawn, the earth trembled. Not from the tread of alien ships this time, but from the roar of human engines rising from the ground. The Iron Sky's fleet, a patchwork of stolen parts, welded dreams and raw courage, ascended through the choking clouds. Old Earth shuttles fused with alien drives screamed through the stratosphere, their hulls glowing red from the climb. For the first time in 10 years, humanity was going back into space, not as slaves, but as warriors. Captain Rhea Sloan stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, the largest of the hybrid ships. Its systems flickered between human and Orion code, held together by Aaron Vale's desperate genius. Around her, the crew moved like a single heartbeat. Engineers, miners, farmers, all now soldiers of the same war. On her command, they had left the safety of their underground haven to strike at the heavens themselves. Aaron's voice echoed through the comms, calm but tight. "We're locking onto the relay ring. Energy signatures confirm the Orion core is active. Once it aligns with the towers below, they'll trigger the global pulse." Rhea's jaw hardened. "Then we don't let them finish." Outside the viewport, the stars flickered with movement, Orion ships gliding like metallic sharks through darkness. The Dominion had noticed. Their fleet turned, engines flaring ultraviolet. Warnings flooded the Dauntless screens, alien transmissions demanding surrender. Rhea cut them off. "No translations," she said coldly. "They've heard us speak enough. The first engagement was chaos. Human ships were fragile and mismatched, their weapons unreliable. But they fought with fury. They darted between the massive Orion cruisers, firing scavenged missiles, ramming plasma cannons into exposed conduits. The Orion ships struck back with disciplined precision, tearing through hulls like paper. One by one, Rhea watched allies vanish in bursts of light. Still, the humans advanced. They moved with instinct, improvisation, qualities no machine could predict. Aaron rerouted power through the Dauntless's engines, forcing it beyond safe limits. The hull screamed, metal bending under stress. "If we hit the relay core with this much output," he warned, "we'll vaporize ourselves." Rhea met his gaze. "Then we make it count." The ship plunged toward the glowing lattice of the planetary relay. The structure loomed like a halo around the world, elegant, merciless, beautiful in its design. Energy surged across its surface, preparing for activation. "Now!" she shouted. The Dauntless fired its last missile, a hybrid warhead built from stolen Orion plasma and human fusion cells. It streaked into the relay's central ring and detonated in a silent flash that turned the night sky white. The explosion tore through the network, severing its control channels. For a heartbeat, Earth itself seemed to exhale. Every collar on the planet flickered. Millions of humans blinked, feeling consciousness return like light through darkness. The Dominion's control wavered, then the retaliation came. Orion warships unleashed a storm of plasma. The Dauntless was struck, spiraling in flames toward the upper atmosphere. Systems failed. Aaron's hands danced over the controls, trying to stabilize the descent. "We can still make orbit," he shouted. Rhea laughed, not in joy, but in fierce defiance. "No, Aaron, we already made history." Through the cracked viewport, she saw the relay burning, its fragments falling like meteors. The sky bled fire across the horizon. Below, billions looked up, slaves no more, and saw proof that their gods could bleed. The Dauntless broke apart before reaching the clouds. Yet its signal, Rhea's final transmission, echoed across every open channel. Humanity stands. The iron sky lives, and as the wreckage burned through the atmosphere, the Orion Dominion finally understood what they had awakened, a species that would rather die free than live perfect. The sky that once belonged to them was now a battlefield, and the war had just begun. The fires of the relay still burned across the upper atmosphere, drifting like slow embers over the wounded planet. People everywhere stood in silence, watching fragments of alien metal streak through the sky. They did not know the names of those who had flown the ships, nor the cost of the victory, but every falling spark felt like a heartbeat returning to life. The collars had gone dark. Minds once caged by the Dominion were awake, and for the first time in a decade, the Earth itself felt alive again. In the shattered tunnels beneath Geneva, the survivors of the iron sky pulled themselves from the wreckage. Communications were broken, power scarce, but the static that filled their radios was now human. Voices from every continent called out, fragments of hope, cries for guidance, messages of freedom whispered through the ashes. They spoke Rhea Sloane's name like a prayer, not knowing she had vanished with the Dauntless in the upper air. Dr. Aaron Vale limped through the command chamber, its walls blackened by the blast shock that had traveled through orbit. His hands were burned, his lungs raw from smoke, but his mind refused rest. He replayed the sensor logs again and again, searching for any trace of the captain's ship. Each time the screen ended in static. Still, he left the channel open, as if her voice might return through sheer defiance. Above the horizon, Dominion warships regrouped. They had lost control of the planet, but not their pride. They descended in waves, determined to burn rebellion from the soil. Cities that had dared to rise, Nairobi, São Paulo, Tianjin, became battlefields once more. The Orions did not understand surrender. Their logic allowed no such concept. To them, humans were a malfunction that needed deletion, yet the deletion failed. Everywhere the fleet struck, humanity answered. Farmers turned their tractors into barricades. Engineers hijacked power grids, overloading alien reactors. Pilots from the old world resurfaced, flying scavenged craft through orbital debris. Even enslaved miners on the lunar bases revolted, using stolen drills as weapons. The iron sky had become an idea, and ideas could not be incinerated. Aaron rallied the remnants of the network, linking the scattered cells under one code. He spoke through the open frequencies with the voice of a scientist turned commander. "She gave us the sky," he told them. "Now we take back the ground." His orders spread through encrypted bursts, guiding assaults, evacuations, and sabotage operations across the globe. Each act of defiance lit another fire against the Dominion's darkness. Then, in the middle of the chaos, a transmission came through. Faint, fractured, but unmistakably alien. The voice identified itself as Tavor, an Orion scientist seeking asylum. "Your rebellion cannot succeed with courage alone," it said in broken Terran. "But I can give you knowledge. I know where the core ship sleeps, the heart of our Dominion, the source of every command." The coordinates appeared on Aaron's screen, a low-orbit fortress hidden within a gravitational fold above the Pacific. If destroyed, it would sever the Orion fleet's control link permanently. The risk was infinite. The reward, freedom itself. Aaron stared at the data, then at the battered faces of the people around him. "She would have gone," he murmured. The others nodded. No one questioned what came next. Plans formed, weapons were rebuilt, ships refitted from wreckage. Humanity was preparing for its final storm. As night fell over the smoking ruins of Earth, Aaron stood outside the tunnels and looked toward the stars. The air smelled of dust and rain, the first true rain in years. He whispered to the wind, "If you can hear us, Rhea, we're not done." And somewhere beyond the clouds, where light met shadow, a broken transponder blinked once, a silent answer. The ashes remembered. The sea was black with storms when the fleet ascended for the last time. Waves hurled themselves against broken coastlines as if the planet itself raged beside its children. From the hidden bases around the Pacific, engines screamed awake. Human ships built from wreckage, willpower, and fury. They were ugly, loud, imperfect things, stitched together from memories of freedom. But to those who climbed aboard, they were salvation. Dr. Aaron Vale stood at the heart of the flagship Dauntless II, rebuilt around the last surviving Orion drive. Its hull bore the scars of recycled wrecks, its interior humming with unstable energy. Around him, pilots saluted, mechanics sealed hatches, and soldiers checked weapons one last time. No one knew if they would return. No one cared. Humanity had been dying for a decade. Now it was time to live like it meant something. The target hovered in the sky above them, a vast sphere of alien metal wrapped in blue light, half hidden within a distortion field. The Orion core ship. Inside it pulsed the Dominion's command AI, the intelligence that coordinated their fleets and enforced their rule. If that core fell, every Orion unit across the system would be blind, divided, vulnerable. Tavor, the defector, stood beside Aaron in silence. His silver skin shimmered faintly in the light of the monitors. "You understand," he said, his voice trembling with a strange mixture of shame and awe, "that the destruction of this vessel will end my kind's dominion forever." Aaron nodded. "Then let it end." The fleet launched through the storm. Lightning streaked across their hulls as they climbed into the thin breath of the upper atmosphere. Orion ships met them halfway, hundreds of gleaming predators emerging from the clouds. Plasma fire tore the night apart. The human formations broke and scattered, each ship fighting its own war, relying on instinct and desperation. Dauntless II plunged through the chaos, her engines burning white. Aaron felt every impact, every vibration, but he refused to slow. "Target the core's shield emitter," he ordered. "We breach it, we win." The Orion fleet fought with machine precision, but the humans were unpredictable. They looped, stalled, faked maneuvers, sacrificed themselves to open paths for others. The sky became a storm of debris and fire. Through it all, Aaron heard one voice cut through the static, a voice he thought lost. "Iron Sky, this is Rhea. Hold your course." He froze, disbelieving. Then she appeared on the comm screen, burned, bloodied, alive. The Dauntless, her original ship, half destroyed but still flying, emerged from the glare of an exploding cruiser. "Did you really think I'd let you finish without me?" she said with a tired smile. For a moment, time stopped. Then Aaron laughed, a sound of pure disbelief and joy. "Welcome home, Captain." Together, the two ships dove toward the core ship. Plasma beams scorched their hulls, shields failed, alarms screamed. But they pressed on. At the final moment, Rhea's voice came through again. Calm, steady, the same tone she had used when the world first fell. "They called us Dustborn. Dust that rises from ruin. Let's show them what storms are made of." Her ship slammed into the core ship's energy heart, carrying with it a payload of overcharged Orion fuel cells. The explosion that followed was silent, a blinding bloom of white that consumed the sky. The core ship fractured, its gravitational field collapsing inward. Orion warships fell from orbit like dying stars. Below on Earth, people saw the night ignite. Every collar that had remained still flickered and died. The Dominion's broadcast ceased. Across cities and wastelands, humans fell to their knees, not in fear, but in awe. The sky was theirs again. Dauntless II barely escaped the blast. Aaron watched as Rhea's signal faded into static. He whispered, "You gave them the dawn." In the weeks that followed, the Orion survivors fled the system. Humanity, bruised and broken, began to rebuild beneath a quiet sky. From the ruins of the old world, children drew pictures of ships with wings of fire. They called them Iron Sky, and high above the Earth, in the orbit cleared by war, a beacon still burned, a single transmission repeating endlessly into the void. Humanity stands, the stars, once silent witnesses, seemed to listen, and for the first time in centuries, they shone not upon slaves or victims, but upon the heirs of their own defiance. The iron sky had risen,